So we have some new information about Google's basically chat GPT / generative AI workspace stuff. They are now officially integrating generative AI into basically all of Google Workspace.
It's about time.
Yeah. So this is their competitor to all of Microsoft integrating stuff into Office. And there's a lot here, actually. There's like a lot here. They're integrating it into Gmail, into Docs, into Google Slides, pretty much everything that Microsoft had. But there's a lot of really interesting features. For example, you can say like, help me write an email about this, and it'll just write the whole email.
That's what I was hoping for. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Because I was going to wait for an email client to do this first and like add a text generation thing where it could just be like, write me an excuse to not go to work on Thursday. And then it would just type this amazing email and you just hit send. And then
we're going to start testing.
They'd start charging. They'd start charging a fee because they can write your emails for you.
Yeah.
So now Google's going to do it and it's going to be free. Love that.
Yeah. The official list that they say is they have draft, reply, summarize, and prioritize your Gmail. Brainstorm, proofread, write, and rewrite in Docs. Bring your creative vision to life with auto-generated images, audio, and video in Slides.
Oh.
Go from raw data to insights and analysis via auto-completion, formula generation, and contextual categorization in Sheets. Generate new backgrounds and capture notes in Meet. And enable workflows for getting things done in Chat.
Oh, the Google Meet notes thing. I think they had already said something about that, where you're on a meeting and it's taking notes about the meeting for you.
Which is great. I love that.
That's sweet.
Yeah, some of these are really, really helpful. Some of these I'm a little bit concerned about.
Which ones are you concerned about?
I'm a little bit concerned about the ones where it's writing emails for you. I'm a little bit concerned about the ones where, like, one of their examples is writing a job listing. I'm just a little bit concerned that like the less effort people are going to have to put into these systems to generate a lot of more information, the less likely they're going to be to actually proofread what it's saying. So if you say, write me an email about this, and it ends up being either not exactly what you meant to say, or it added stuff to the email that you didn't ask for and that you didn't know about, and the other person gets that and they read it and they go, regarding this point, what do you mean? And you're like, what are they talking about? I never said that. It's like you're passing off information from your brain to an AI, and in order to not have to do that work yourself. And this has been a thing that I've thought about a lot in the last few years. It's like we're now starting to offload storage from our brains onto hard drives, you know, to the point where we have to do less work, we have to put less cognitive effort in, and therefore it's being stored on a computer instead. And so now if it starts writing all these emails and writing these documents that say things that you didn't pay a lot of attention to, it's like when we were talking about before, when you're doing a test or you're writing an essay or you're doing a research project and you actually learn about the thing by proofreading yourself and going through something and making sure that you understand it. There's going to be less and less of that happening, and people are going to less understand what they're saying.
In the future, instead of like, oh, that was autocorrect, it'll be like, oh, transformer error. Like you'd be like, wait, I thought this job said that it was 2 days a week that are remote. Oh, no, the diffusion model.
Right, imagine that. It's like you read a job posting and it's like fully remote, and because it's trained on like most jobs being fully remote, but the actual hiring manager didn't want it to be fully remote.
So that'll be the thing, is like maybe the skill becomes training your AI instead of like writing.
I think it's also just like giant user error if you're doing it like that, though. And I feel like in those situations where if you're messing that up, then the job listing you're posting to is going to be like, what do you mean by this? Oh, I didn't write that. End of conversation. Like, I'm not going to do this.
The whole point, if you want to write a long formal email, like the whole point of it writing the email for you is you have to do less work.
But you still have to proofread it. It's still less work.
I don't think most people can proofread.
Well, then
stuff.
I think that's their problem then, and like ultimately it will weed people like that out. They'll still try and use it, and maybe it'll work. But I think like ultimately, people who are that's just the same people who are like copy and pasting work online for school projects and stuff like that. They're just going to fail those instances where they try and do it.
I kind of disagree a little bit. I think that actually it's up to the engineers and the designers of these platforms to make it easier for people to proofread the work, you know, in the interfaces. And I also think that a lot of times people who make tools like this actually make it harder to self-check and to self-proofread, because that is how you admit the flaws in the thing you've designed.
Yeah, I guess in this current state where the AI tools aren't perfect,
Yeah.
it is a skill to be able to take the output from the AI and turn it into something fully correct or fully useful. Like that's a specific skill right now. And then the question is, when the AI tools get better and better and better, is your skill going to have to shift out of that correction and into some other phase where you're the one training the AI, or you're the one like deploying the AI into like what it should be typing where? I just think right now it is the skill. You have to be able to take what AI gives you and turn it into something useful. You don't just copy and paste it.
My question is, like, does it become, because at the end of the day, you're going to have people that are trained to proofread whatever the AI generates and make sure that it's tailored to what they actually want. And my question is going to be, is it going to take them longer to have to proofread what the AI writes than it's going to take them to just write it correctly in the first place?
It depends on their knowledge base. Like if someone's just a copywriter and good at researching and fact checking, then it's like, you can give me any AI output and I can turn it into a useful thing.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I need you to write, job listings and job listings only, then maybe if you just get an expert on writing job listings, you don't need this AI thing that slows them down. They just do the thing that they're good at.
Yeah.
So yeah, the AI tool, this is just it's a fun time to be interested in this AI stuff because it's not perfect. And so the skill becomes turning it into something useful. What do you do with it where? I just think it's fun.
Yeah, I do think like in terms of you saying, could it take longer? It'll be dependent on the person. Like if you are a great writer, like you've written for so long of your life, it'll probably take longer for you because it will write it all out for you.
And
And
you
you're
have to
like,
go through
this
and
isn't how
change
I want to say
everything.
this. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. But for someone who doesn't write, maybe like me, I could be like, this is a really couple quick thoughts I have. Can you write this all out? It's like, wow, that described it way better than I ever could have.
Yeah.
And therefore, as long as I just make sure a couple of these things sound correctly to me, that will be way faster for me. Like I've written a couple like very short Substack articles and I've had to proofread them 10 times because I'm just like, I don't like how I said that. Change the whole paragraph and it changes the whole meaning of everything. And then I had to rewrite the entire thing. And
Yeah, it's really fun because also using AI as a tool, as a creator is interesting now. Like I have a certain writing style when I am writing a video. I don't necessarily script every single word, but what I am doing is getting a list of points that I need to cover and say in a certain order and get the facts right. And then the sort of connective tissue is just like in the flow of things. And so when I am like creating something from scratch and I start with a blank page, that first bit of like generating the skeleton of the thing I want to say actually can be done by AI. Like that actually is a thing where I could plug it into ChatGPT and be like, give me a top 5 list of the most innovative, most successful tech products of all time. And then it just goes, all right, it does the research. It finds a list of 5. Maybe I ask for 10 and I narrow it down. And and then I take that and I go, okay, let me think. Which one of these 10 do I want to use? And I can narrow it down and pick the 5 best ones. And then write all of the connective tissue that would have taken much less time.
Yeah.
So I actually successfully in that instance use the AI to help me write something.
and then
Even though it never gets like published as written thing. It's just me talking.
and then in the video, David's the fact checker anyway, so he's got to do all the hard work.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least if it's about, this is also what I said in the video, if it's about a topic that I already know about, then when I get the AI output, I can diagnose what I need to fix. If it's about a topic I don't know about, that's tough. Then I am spending a lot more time fact checking and source reading.
I will just say, like, the concerns that I have around a lot of these features are only for like a few things. Some of the other features are actually super useful, like, and really nice. Like, for example, the fact that it can take like bulleted notes and summarize meetings for you. That's really awesome.
But can it unsubscribe from emails?
That's the
that I
first
no
thing that I
longer
thought of
want?
when you mentioned
Gmail can already do that.
No, it can't.
It
I click
asks
it
you.
for like some of them. It'll have the unsubscribe thing on the top, and you click it, and then 2 days later, I'll still get an email from that.
This
same
happens
company.
to me.
It depends.
I've tried.
700.
It depends on the website. And
But
whether-
AI should fix that.
AI, that's the number one. As soon as an AI can do
all
that,
I want.
that's it.
All I want.
Yeah.
I really like the meeting notes, the raw data insights and analysis via autocompletion and Sheets is really helpful because you're basically just taking something that it's like, I don't necessarily have this, I don't know how to use Google Sheets correctly. and I have all this information. It's just a button to like do that analysis for you.
That's good.
Very useful.
Oh yeah.
Being able to like brainstorm things in Google Docs, very useful. So I think just like every other AI category, there's probably going to be a large amount of people arguing about what's okay and what's not okay. You could have people say like, oh, well, people are trained in Excel and you should be hiring an Excel person. Or another feature that's obviously going to be super controversial is that in Google Slides, you can just auto-generate images and audio. And that's been the kind of highlight of most of the controversy recently, because the images it generates are going to be based on a database somewhere.
Right.
Depending on where they get that database, if it's an ethical database versus a regular scraping database, who knows? But I would say that overall, this is an example of boring computing, which is where you get to integrate AI into something that just like makes your life a little bit easier, because Google has had really basic versions of all of this stuff for a really long time. When you're writing in Google Docs and you say, I want to, and then it'll suggest that
Gmail.
it finishes the rest of the sentence, you hit tab and it fills it in, right?
Yeah.
It's just doing that, but with way more tokens. And then a lot of other random features like this.
That's why it kind of feels like a natural evolution to me. Like the
it does.
Gmail app right now, if I say my address is and hit space, it goes, oh, I know what you're about to write. And it says, if you just want to take that address like you usually do, just swipe over, hit tab, it appears. And like, so the skill is just knowing like how to trigger that and how to type and have that save you a little bit of time. And I guess now it's like, okay, autocomplete was just me going, press the first, you know how you'll write your first word and then just hit the middle autocomplete word and it just makes a sentence based on what it thinks. That's just because it's trained off of you typing a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit more advanced than that.
Maybe I'm just a boomer and I'm a little concerned about this, but like I just thanks. I don't know. I worry about a day where everything is completely written by AI and it removes every single ounce of individualism from our writing to the point where like any email, I know that you don't care when you get an email that's like very, very businessy.
80% of my emails are templates anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the PR emails we get PR emails that say, hello, journalist, or like, hello, YouTuber. And obviously they didn't even go in and do the work of filling that in their templates. But like, I'm concerned about a day where you're like, tell Michael I can't make it to his birthday party. And then it writes this long thing like, I'm so sorry, I've got a thing that's going on. And it's like, it's, I don't know. It's it concerns me a little bit, but this is like controversial topic and I'm a boomer. So
I don't think you need to worry because soon AI will be able to tell your tone and your characteristics and then it'll be able to write that in a very
that's literally
David way.
A Black Mirror episode where like the woman's husband dies and they download all his text messages and then they put him in a data-based robot.
Here's maybe my hot take version of what you were talking about, which is like if you just write something and it just works, you just hit send. The question of like writing an essay for school, if you put in the prompt into ChatGPT and it spits out an essay and it's like a C- essay and you just hit send, you deserve a C- because the prompt that you decided to give it and your knowledge of how to use the tools gave that, and you're deciding to not proofread it, you deserve a C-, not an F, because the goal of assigning you an essay is to see how good of a response can you give to the prompt. And that's the response you give, given your tools. And that's it. That's what's going to happen in real life. When you get a job in the real world, they're going to be like, write an essay on this, theoretically, and you're going to give them the C- thing, and you deserve a C-, not an F. But if you get really good at designing prompts for AI, hear me out, you get really good at getting certain words into ChatGPT and it kicks out just the right essay, and then you proofread it a little bit and send that in, and it's an A+ essay, you deserve an A+ because you did that work to create that thing, given the tools
I
that you
completely
have.
agree.
I think that's a skill.
I think that's dependent on the thing you're trying to learn in school. If you're trying to be a doctor and have to write an essay about
That's
how
fair.
to save somebody's
There are
life,
so many
you shouldn't
angles
have
of
to have to
this.
take the time
it's-
when someone's dying in
There's
front
so
of you
many
to
angles
look at
of this.
ChatGPT.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a great point.
If you have to learn things to memory to future help on the job site thinking, then that you should fail.
Like if it's to write a history essay about why this monument was important for this piece of history and time, maybe you don't need to memorize all those facts. But if you go back and fact check and make sure your essay's good, you are going through the learning process a little bit. But if it's like, write an essay about why this type of surgery is better, and then you're doing that to become a doctor and do that surgery, that ChatGPT thing is not a skill you need to be a good doctor. You should actually use the skills to be a doctor, to get the doctor degree.
Right.
It's a very specific.
Something I thought about is like when these generative AI can start doing computer science and coding for people, which they can. And there's all these tools that have been popping up in the last couple of years, like no code, where it can just like create websites for you, create code for you. The problem there is that if everyone grows up not having to learn the fundamentals of things and they just are able to use these tools to make stuff, there becomes a limit of how much you can actually build out from there. Or if you have a problem, how do you diagnose it? It's
You mean like photography?
What?
I feel like people don't really know how photography works, but they just hit a button on their phone and they have pictures.
Well, yeah, but photography, it's like a photo. You can do a cool photo, but like you're not
Like
transforming. You're not creating the future of photography by taking pictures. Like in computer science, if you're like building new tools or building new architectures or whatever, you still have to understand how the architecture works.
No, but
Because
I mean, there
there's
will always be people that will do that. Like you are a photographer, but everyone can take a picture. There's going to be a time where everyone can write code, but there will be engineers that know how to write code.
I would hope so. I just don't want us to get to the point where in elementary school and university, it's like click these buttons and then everything's done for you.
And that's how you get an essay, kids. I think I think kind of like what you're saying, there's always, there has to be the general use of a thing and then the behind the scenes knowledge of how it works thing. And for most people in most cases, when you drive a car down the highway, you don't have to know how the car works. You just use the tool.
Yeah.
And when you take a photo with your phone, you don't have to know how it works. You just got a photo. But there will always be some group of people that is, I am actually interested in how this works. I want to get behind the scenes and build the things. Yeah. Then you have to learn those things. You don't get to just use the tool. You actually learn the things.
That's true.
And so this is just one more tool that a lot of people are just going to use for normal things.
Yeah.
And then some fraction of them will be like, I want to get these tools to be better. I'm going to learn how they work. And then that's the other group.
I suppose it's an aspect of democratization, right? Where like many more people can build things that you would normally need to code for, but the people that want to make new stuff still have to be the ones that understand the fundamentals. It's just there's a much wider swath of people that are able to create stuff.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go for it.
I was gonna say that's how I felt when you were mentioning how like it can do things in Excel or can do things in Slide, where you might have an Excel expert or designer. I see it more as it will make the average person who's maybe creating the concept of what you need that sheet for or that slide for can create it. And then when it gets into the professional aspect, it's like this person in Excel can do this 1,000 times faster and do all of it. And then, or this designer, when we need to make slides for presentation, can see my vision and make it into a real thing.
Right.
It almost feels, I just had this thought while you were saying it. It's like ChatGPT is when you call the help desk at any place, it's the first person you talk to that's reading off of a script and telling you all the things on a script, and then the experts are the expedited ticket that like you've made it through all of the steps and they can't help you, and now there's an actual expert sitting there that is like, oh yeah, I've dealt with this 100 times before, like let me walk you through it.
I think the difference is that we're getting to the point where ChatGPT has dealt with this 100 times before it can walk you through it. That's the question. It's like
that's the question if it does happen. I don't know if we're there yet.
Well, I'm not saying AGI. I'm just saying that like, I mean, especially with
it's like maybe someday.
Like we're getting there quickly.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I think the closer we get, the harder and the farther we'll get. If that makes sense. The closer we get, the so much harder those last parts. Yeah, the last parts of getting to the actual human level is going to be so hard that gap is going to exist forever. Probably.
It's like cars. A little.
Oh man.
Sorry, I love the analogy, but I'm like, everyone knows how to drive a car in the basic form of turn it on, foot on the gas and steering wheel. Mm-hmm. And if you ask somebody right now to like build a car, it's just like there is a giant gap between people who know how to use a car and know how to make the car better, build the car. Is that what you mean?
I was going to say, I think it works better with a lot of people can drive a car, but watch autonomous driving, how long that's been going on. And it's so much better than it was, but it is so far away from an actual human
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I think a lot of the Google changes do feel like a more natural evolution of what Google was already doing and not as much of a like stark contrast, like leap away from what they were doing. And I think that that is good and smart. And like we've talked about before, Google has everything to lose and other companies have everything to gain.
Thanks.
And so them doing that is probably a good move, especially since they like low key announced this, like they weren't making a big deal about it. Whereas whenever OpenAI releases something new, like OpenAI feels like the new Tesla or the new
Same guy.
whatever, like
Yeah.
like they feel like the new Bell Labs. Like everything, whenever they do anything, the world pays attention, and that has only existed for the last like 6 months. Like it's insane how everyone is just like locking on to every little thing they do, whereas Google is being a lot more low key about all these things. I really want to try all these new Google features. I don't know when it's publicly launching, but it seems really interesting.
I can't wait to have it write emails for me. Cannot wait for that. I'm very excited.
I'm nervous. I just think it's going to be funny when you ask it to write long emails, and then everyone who receives the emails like, I'm not reading all that. Summarize that for me. And it's just like, it's just like
You go
within
through
the AI, it's just going like, woo, woo. It's contracting and it's contracting and.
I love how you were
compressing.
like, I'm so worried that people aren't going to feel like they're getting my personality in my email. And then
not
those
gonna
people are going to be like, summarize this.
Yeah.
I don't want his
Anyways,
full email.
Yeah.
Amazing.
is
Okay.
true.
Well, we've rambled at length about these.
Yeah.
Well, I think my summarization take is AI is a tool. That's the
For you, it's to cheat in college.
well, it's a useful tool. I didn't cheat in college when I was in college. I'll put it that way.
I
That's
wish
fair.
I had this.
I would have used so much ChatGPT. Thanks.
For
Watching
This
Podcast
Please
subscribe
and
like
and
comment.
on
this.
banana.
okay.
See you.
That's
was
2
two
words.
See ya. See ya. CYA.
Wouldn't want to be ya
CYA.
because I want to be myself every day of the week.
Before ChatGPT is you.
peace.
Bye.